Two people walk into the same room, same age, same background, same opportunity. One walks out, convinced they can change their life. The other walks out, convinced the system is rigged. What is the difference between them? It is not intelligence. It is not talent. It is not luck. It is a single belief, buried so deep in the mind that most people do not even know they have it. And that belief is the single strongest predictor of how your life will turn out. Psychologists call it locus of control. Where do you believe the control over your life is located? Inside you or outside you? If you believe your actions determine your outcomes, you have an internal locus of control. You show up, you try, you persist, you take responsibility, and over time, you get better results. Not because you are luckier, because you keep trying when others stop. If you believe your outcomes are determined by external forces, fate, luck, other people, the economy, your upbringing, you have an external locus of control. You wait, you hope, you blame, you feel powerless. And over time, your life reflects that powerlessness. Not because you are incapable, because you stopped trying before the results could arrive. This is not self-help rhetoric. This is one of the most replicated findings in the history of psychology. In 1966, psychologist Julian Rotter published a paper that would change how we understand human motivation. He developed a simple scale, a set of questions that measured whether people believed their reinforcements were controlled by their own actions or by forces outside themselves. The results were stark, and they have been replicated hundreds of times across dozens of countries and millions of participants. People with an internal locus of control earn more money. They are healthier. They live longer. They report higher life satisfaction. They achieve more in their careers. They stay in relationships longer. They recover from setbacks faster. They are less likely to experience depression and anxiety. People with an external locus of control earn less. They are sicker. They die younger. They are more likely to be depressed. They give up faster. They blame more. They change less. And here is the most important thing you need to understand. Your locus of control is not fixed. It was not handed to you at birth. It was installed by your experiences. And it can be rewired. Let me tell you about the study that proves this beyond any doubt. In the 1970s, researchers studied survivors of a Vietnamese prisoner of war camp. These were men who had endured years of isolation, torture, and starvation. The kind of experience that would break anyone. And yet, when researchers interviewed them after their release, they found something remarkable. The men who survived best were not the strongest. They were not the most physically fit. They were the ones who maintained an internal locus of control even in a situation where they had absolutely no control. They found small things to control. When they were fed, they would save a single grain of rice and decide when to eat it. When they were given a piece of string, they would tie knots in it and untie them. They created internal control where no external control existed. The men who did not survive were the ones who surrendered to the external. They decided there was nothing they could do. They stopped fighting back mentally, and their bodies followed. Now, think about your own life. Where have you given away your control? Where have you decided that your situation is determined by forces outside you? Your boss, your partner, your parents, the economy, your past, your trauma, your genes. Every single one of these can be a reason, or every single one of them can be a starting point. There is a famous study of nursing home patients. Half of them were given a plant to care for. They were told to water it, take care of it, make decisions about where it should sit in the room. The other half were given a plant that staff would take care of. The only difference between the two groups was a single variable, a sense of control. 18 months later, twice as many patients in the group that had no control over their plant had died. A plant, a simple houseplant. The difference between life and death was whether you believed you were responsible for keeping something alive. This is how powerful the locus of control is. It does not just affect your productivity. It affects your biology. It affects how long you live. When you believe you have no control, your body enters a state of learned helplessness. Stress hormones increase. Immune function drops. Inflammation rises. Your body literally gives up because your mind has already decided that nothing you do matters. When you believe you have control, even when you do not, your body remains in a state of readiness. Cortisol stays regulated. Immune function stays active. Inflammation stays low. Your body keeps fighting because your mind believes the fight is worth it. The placebo effect is a manifestation of internal locus of control. The nocebo effect is a manifestation of external. The sugar pill works because the patient believes they have access to something that will help them. The side effects appear because the patient believes they are helpless against the treatment. Now, let me give you the hard truth. The truth that no one wants to hear because it is easier to blame. Most of your external locus of control is not based on reality. It is based on a story you started telling yourself at a young age and never updated. You tell yourself you cannot get ahead because the system is rigged. But there are people who came from worse circumstances than you who have succeeded, not because they were special, because they refused to believe the system was the final word. You tell yourself you are not good at relationships because of your childhood. But there are people with worse childhoods who have built loving relationships. Not because their trauma did not matter, because they decided their past was not the end of their story. You tell yourself you cannot change careers because you do not have the right degree or the right connections or the right timing. But there are people who changed careers at 40, 50, 60, not because the doors opened for them, because they knocked until the doors opened. This is not toxic positivity. It is not blame. It is not ignoring real systemic obstacles. Systemic obstacles exist. Racism exists. Sexism exists. Class barriers exist. Poverty exists. No serious person denies this. But here is what the data shows. The difference between people who overcome those obstacles and people who are crushed by them is not the size of the obstacle. It is the locus of control. Two people face the same wall. One looks at the wall and says, "There is no way through." The other looks at the wall and says, "I will find a way over, under, or around," and then does. Do you want to know why some children from poor families become millionaires and others stay poor? It is not intelligence. It is not luck. It is the belief that their actions matter. Do you want to know why some trauma survivors heal and others do not? It is not the severity of the trauma. It is whether they believe they have the power to heal. Do you want to know why some entrepreneurs succeed after failing 7 times and others give up after 1? It is not grit. It is not talent. It is the belief that the next attempt will be different because they will do something different. Locus of control is not about controlling everything. It is about believing that your response matters. And it always does. Here is the method for shifting your locus of control from external to internal. Step 1. Audit your language. For the next 7 days, pay attention to how you explain events in your life. Every time you catch yourself using external language, write it down. I did not get the job because they hired someone else. That is external. Rewrite it. I did not get the job because I was not the best candidate this time. What can I do to become the best candidate next time? That is internal. He made me angry. External. Rewrite it. I chose to react with anger. What could I choose next time? Internal. I cannot afford it. External. Rewrite it. I am choosing to spend my money on other things. How can I afford it if I decide to prioritize it? Internal. Language is not just describing your reality. It is constructing it. Every external sentence you speak reinforces your external locus of control. Every internal sentence you speak reinforces your internal locus of control. Change the language, and you change the belief. Step 2. Find the one thing. In every situation, there is at least one thing you can control. It might be small. It might seem insignificant, but it exists. The prisoner of war had a single grain of rice. The nursing home patient had a single plant. Find your one thing and focus on it. Not because it will solve everything, because it reminds your brain that you are not helpless. Step 3. Stop consuming externalizing content. The news, social media, the endless scroll of things happening to people. Every headline reinforces the message that the world is happening to you. Cut it. Replace it with content that shows people taking action. Biographies of people who built something from nothing. Documentaries about people who refused to give up. Stories of internal locus of control in action. Step 4. Take one action every day that you did not want to take. The biggest trap of external locus of control is waiting. I will apply when I feel ready. I will start when I have more time. I will change when the conditions are right. Break this pattern by taking action before you feel ready. Send the application, make the call, start the project. Not because you are guaranteed to succeed, because the act of taking action reinforces your internal locus of control. Step 5. Reframe failure. External locus of control sees failure as proof that the system is rigged. Internal locus of control sees failure as data. I tried X and got Y. What does that tell me about what to try next? Every failure becomes information. Every setback becomes a lesson. Nothing is wasted. Everything is input. Step 6. Create a control ritual. Every morning, write down 3 things you will control today. Not goals, controls. I will control my response to frustration. I will control where I direct my attention. I will control whether I take the first step on my project. Small acts of control compound. Over time, your brain learns that you are someone who controls their life, not someone who is controlled by it. Here is what will try to stop you. First, the comfort of blame. Blaming feels good in the moment. It relieves you of responsibility. It gives you a story where you are the victim and someone else is the villain. Letting go of that story feels like losing a part of yourself. You will be tempted to return to it every time something goes wrong. Do not. Second, the people around you. If you start taking control of your life, the people who are comfortable with the old you will resist. Your external language will clash with their external language. They will call you naive. They will say you are delusional. They will remind you of all the reasons you cannot change. Stay the course. Third, the real obstacles. Some situations are genuinely harder than others. Discrimination is real. Poverty is real. Trauma is real. Internal locus of control does not mean pretending these do not exist. It means believing that even within the obstacle, there is something you can control. Your response, your next action, your decision to keep going. Fourth, the danger of overcorrection. Internal locus of control is not about controlling everything. It is not about blaming yourself for everything that goes wrong. That is not internal locus of control. That is guilt. Healthy internal locus of control acknowledges external factors exist. It simply refuses to give them the final say. Here is the 7-day challenge. Day 1. Audit your language. Catch every external sentence and rewrite it internally. Day 2. Find the one thing you can control in the situation you feel most stuck in. Focus on it. Day 3. Cut one source of externalizing content. News, social media, whatever reinforces helplessness. Day 4. Take one action you have been avoiding because you did not feel ready. Day 5. Reframe a past failure. What did it teach you? What will you do differently? Day 6. Create your control ritual. 3 things you will control tomorrow. Day 7. Reflect. Do you feel more powerful, more capable, more in control? That is not wishful thinking. That is the locus of control shifting. There's a story they tell in psychology classrooms. A researcher goes to a school and gives every child a test. He then tells the teachers that some of these children are bloomers, late bloomers, who are about to experience a surge in intellectual growth. The teachers do not know that the children were chosen randomly. By the end of the year, the children labeled as bloomers have surged ahead, not because they were smarter, because the teachers expected more from them. The teachers had an internal locus of control regarding those students. They believed their teaching would make a difference. But here is the part of the story they do not tell as often. Some of the bloomers did not bloom, and when researchers investigated why, they found one consistent factor. The students who did not bloom had an external locus of control. They did not believe their own effort mattered, so they did not put in the effort. That means the bloomer effect only works if the person being believed in also believes in themselves. You cannot be saved by someone else's belief in you. You must believe in yourself, not in a performative, affirmation-repeating way, in a deep, structural way. You must believe that what you do matters, because it does. Every action you take is a vote for who you are becoming. Every decision is a statement about what you believe is possible. Every choice reinforces either the internal or the external. You are not a leaf in the wind. You are not a passenger in your own life. You are not waiting for permission. You are not waiting for the right conditions. You are not waiting for someone to save you. You are the one. You have always been the one. The control was never outside you. It was always inside. It was just buried under years of stories that told you otherwise. Excavate it, claim it, use it. Not because you can control everything, because you can control the only thing that matters, your response. And your response is everything.